scary story. The Crabber? Elias Crowe Maniac serial killer. In the sleepy coastal town of Black Harbor, Maine, where the Atlantic waves crashed against jagged cliffs and fog rolled in like a living thing, residents spoke in hushed tones about the man they called the Crabber. His real name was Elias Crowe, a wiry 62-year-old fisherman who had spent most of his life hauling lobster pots and mending nets. To outsiders, he was just another weathered face at the docks, always wearing the same yellow oilskin slicker, smelling faintly of salt and diesel. But those who knew him longer remembered the stories. How his wife disappeared one stormy night in 1998, how his only son left town at 18 and never came back, how Elias had once been found sitting alone on the pier at 3 in the morning, covered in what looked like blood, but turned out to be fish guts. Nobody connected those fragments until the bodies started appearing. The first was found in early June, tangled in kelp on Crescent Beach at low tide. 23-year-old tourism intern named Haley Monroe. Her throat had been slit ear to ear with what the medical examiner later described as a single, extremely precise cut made by a serrated blade. Her hands were bound behind her back with thick nautical rope, the kind used for lobster traps. Most disturbingly, both of her index fingers had been removed at the first knuckle. The stumps were cauterized with something hot, perhaps a boat's propane torch. The local sheriff's department called it a boating accident at first. Haley had been known to go night kayaking. Maybe she capsized, hit her head on rocks, drowned. The missing fingers? Maybe crabs got them. Tourists bought the story. Locals did not. 2 weeks later, the second victim washed up near the old lighthouse on Breakwater Point. 26-year-old bartender named Connor Vale. Same signature, throat slashed clean, hands tied with trap rope, both index fingers gone, stumps burned. This time the body showed additional marks, parallel gouges across the thighs that looked suspiciously like the teeth of a large pair of lobster shears. Panic began to spread along the waterfront bars and bait shops. People started calling the killer the Crabber, after someone noticed the missing fingers resembled how crabs lose claws. The nickname stuck like sea salt on skin. Elias Crowe kept working. He left the dock at dawn, returned at dusk, said little. When asked about the murders, he would shrug and mutter, "Ocean takes who she wants." The third kill happened inland, away from the water for the first time. 21-year-old community college student named Riley Patel was found in the woods behind the abandoned cannery. Same MO, throat cut, rope-bound wrists, fingers removed and cauterized. But this time the killer had arranged the body in a grotesque parody of a crab, arms pulled back, legs splayed, the severed fingers placed between the victim's own like claws. That was when the FBI arrived. Special Agent Mara Voss had seen many things in her 14 years with the Behavioral Analysis Unit. But something about this case unsettled her immediately. The precision of the cuts, the ritualistic elements, the choice of victims, all young, all newcomers, or seasonal workers, all people who wouldn't be immediately missed for a day or two. She interviewed Elias, because he owned the only commercial lobster boat that had been out on the water the nights of the first 2 murders. He answered her questions politely, offered her coffee that tasted like motor oil, showed her his license and logbooks. Everything checked out. His alibi for the third murder was ironclad. He'd been at a VFW hall playing cards with 6 witnesses. But Mara couldn't shake the feeling. Something in the way Elias looked at her hands while they talked. Not lust, not threat. Evaluation. She started digging into his past. 1998. Elias's wife Margaret vanished during a nor'easter. No body ever found. Their son Daniel left shortly after turning 18, saying he couldn't live in a house where his mother disappeared into thin air. No forwarding address. No social media. Nothing. Then Mara found something else. Hospital records from 1997. Elias had come in with severe burns on both hands after a cooking accident involving a propane torch. The burns were so bad the tips of both index fingers had to be amputated. She stared at the file photo. The scars were unmistakable. The fourth victim disappeared before anyone could warn her. 24-year-old travel blogger named Sofia Alvarez had been posting daily from Black Harbor for a week. Sunsets, lobster rolls, lighthouses. Her last Instagram story showed her walking alone toward the breakwater at dusk, captioned "Chasing the perfect golden hour shot." Her body was discovered 3 days later, snagged on the pilings under the commercial pier at dead low tide. Same cuts, same rope, same missing fingers. But this time the killer had left something new. A small brass crab-shaped keychain clutched in her remaining fingers, the kind sold at every tourist shop in town. On the back, scratched crudely with a knife, 4 down, more to come. The town went into lockdown. Tourists fled. Businesses that depended on summer money started bleeding out. The sheriff begged Mara for help. She decided to bait the trap. Mara chose herself. She dyed her hair darker, borrowed clothes from a local woman her size, started posting on a freshly created Instagram account as Mara from away. a tourist supposedly visiting for 2 weeks. She walked the same paths the victims had, lingered at the same spots, made sure to be seen alone at dusk. Elias noticed. He began appearing at the edges of her vision, unloading traps at the pier when she walked by, sitting on a bench near the beach when she took photos, watching from the deck of his boat as she strolled the breakwater. On the 7th night, Mara went to the Cannery Woods, the place Riley had died. She carried a concealed Glock, a wire, back up 200 yards away in the trees. She pretended to take selfies with an old rusted crane in the background. The fog was thick that night, swallowing sound. Footsteps crunched on pine needles. "Elias," she said without turning. "I know it's you." Silence. Then a low chuckle that sounded like water gurgling in a drain. "You always were too smart for your own good, Agent." He stepped out of the mist wearing his yellow slicker, hood up. In his right hand, a long serrated fillet knife. In his left, a small propane torch, already lit, blue flame dancing. Mara drew her weapon. "Drop it, now." He didn't. Instead, he raised the torch like a toast. "You know why I take the fingers?" She kept the Glock steady. "Enlighten me." "Index fingers are what we use to point, to accuse, to identify." Margaret pointed at me, the night she said she was leaving. Daniel pointed at me when he blamed me for her disappearance. Every one of them, he jerked his head toward the darkness, pointed at someone, at the world, at me. The flame hissed. "So I take their pointing fingers, make them stop." Mara's backup team was supposed to move in the moment he appeared. Where were they? "Elias, this ends tonight. Put it down." He smiled, teeth yellow in the torchlight. "Funny thing about crabs, when they lose a claw, they grow it back. Stronger sometimes." He lunged. Mara fired twice. Both shots hit center mass. Elias staggered but didn't fall. Years of hauling traps had made him tough. He kept coming. She fired again. This time he dropped. The torch clattered to the ground, still burning. The knife skittered across pine needles. Backup finally burst through the trees. Late, breathless, apologizing about radio interference in the fog. Elias Crowe died on the way to the hospital, smiling the whole time. They found the rest in his boat's hold, hidden under false deck boards. 8 more sets of index fingers, preserved in mason jars of salt water, each labeled with a date and a name. Margaret Crowe, Daniel Crowe, and 6 others, people who had vanished over the years, never reported missing because no one cared enough to check. The crabber was gone, but in Black Harbor, even now, fishermen still check their traps carefully after dark. And when someone loses an index finger to a snapping claw, they don't curse the crab, they whisper thanks. Because some believe Elias is still out there, somewhere under the waves, growing new claws, waiting for the next person who points. Check out my long videos with scary stories. Visit my channel and watch. Subscribe to my channel. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Recommend it to your friends. Check out my videos, friends.